Welcome back. Those of you listening on YouTube or however else you find us. This is the Senate Committee on Government Operations meeting of, well, the last day of February, 2025. We have one item left, and then I will hopefully be able to let my committee out a little bit earlier today. We have a beautiful sunny day. I don't know what the temperature is outside, but I guess it's nudging near 40, and it'll be a good day to travel if folks want to do that. S58, the act related to requirements for the pay plans of certain law enforcement officers and firefighters employed by the state. We've taken, I would say, a few hours testimony on this, and I want to welcome in. You guys can come up together if you like, Kelly Price and Chris Hoare, or separately, it doesn't matter. We'll walk around the table and introduce ourselves first, and then you guys can let us know how we can be of service. Senator Hart?
I have Senator Larry Hart from Orange County. How you guys doing?
Thank you.
Allison Clarkson, Windsor County District.
Brian Collmore, Rutland District.
Jillian, Committee Assistant.
Tanya Vihovsky, Chittenden Central District.
And I'm Rebecca White, and I'm from the Windsor County District.
So you are,
I am Senior State Game Warden Kelly Price with the Vermont Warden Service.
welcome. Great to have you with us. Have you been following our testimony a little bit? We seem to, at least on the part of some of us, be wading into uncharted territory in terms of labor negotiations.
Yeah, I will, and I'll. There's a lot to talk about, and I'm gonna try and keep it as brief as absolutely possible. Okay. Because I don't want to get into the weeds.
Well, we waited.
Yeah.
People waited in water, but we waited.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm here to discuss a very important and I feel chronic issue affecting men and women I have the privilege to work with. As a 23-year veteran of the Vermont Warden Service, I've dedicated myself to public service, both within my agency and out. Briefly, currently I hold positions in the VSA bargaining team for over 10 years, VSA Legislative Committee, VSA Board of Trustees, VSA Council member, Governor appointed member of the Animal Cruelty Advisory Board, Criminal Justice Council member, Law Enforcement Advisory Board. That was a brief rundown of the thing that most important. I've dedicated myself to trying to make a difference for the people I work with and the people of Vermont. However, my condensed resume is not why I'm here today. As many of you are aware, I've been fighting my entire career, and some of you may be aware, been fighting my entire career for equity and parity for the law enforcement personnel in the Group C retirement system, which is the crux of what this is all about. The men and women, these men and women have been unfairly subsidizing the Group C system for decades. I'll go into detail further on. These professionals have been left, including myself, in a 30-year step pay structure, but are yet part of the 20-year retirement system. We were promised parity decades ago, and it never came. The can just got kicked further and further down the road. To help shore up the funding of the Group C retirement system, our prospective unions, meaning ours and the VSP, agreed to increase the contributions to the Group C system to over 10% of our salaries. Once again, that increase is a windfall subsidy at the expense of all non-VSP law enforcement within the Group C system. And I want to pause there for a second and make crystal clear. I'm not trying in any way, shape, or form to disparage VSP and the people I work with, because we work hand in hand and help each other out. I'm just simply making a comparison. We do not have a step plan that has been adjusted for the 20-year system as VSP currently has. This translates into hundreds of thousands of extra dollars out of the pockets of non-VSP group personnel going to the Group C system with no additional benefit. For over a decade, I tried in vain to offer concessions and held numerous discussions while bargaining with the state. Each and every time, our law enforcement members were told no by the state, or it was used as a carrot and stick during bargaining. And I can give an example as requested. I work with the most highly trained, highly skilled, and most diverse group of men and women within the warden service. Currently, almost 1/3 of our force consists of strong, talented women, which we're very proud of. And that is only going to increase in time. We pride ourselves on a diverse and equitable workforce, and we feel we deserve equity and fairness in our retirement and step systems. There is no perfect answer to this issue of equity in our retirement step structure. I've heard some suggesting extending the retirement age. I believe HR or maybe someone else had discussed that. That will not fix the inequity issue. It's not an issue of retirement age. Because currently right now they went from 55 and got pushed out to 57.
Right.
It's not an issue of age on this particular topic. Non-VSP Group C members already must work over 10 years longer to achieve what VSP in the same system completes in 15 years. We're not asking for the same step system as VSP. In contrast, I offered in bargaining, states that we would have an 18-year step system, forgo COLA for 2 years, and forgo any reclass that we would perform for 2 years, but it was all rejected. The issue is also not about retention or recruitment, as has been discussed in the past. That has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with that as much as it has been expressed as a reason. To us, and I've also heard that it has been suggested that it would be a disservice to VSP to have us given the same equality. We feel it's a slap on the face to all of the Group C women, and men outside of VSP who have worked so hard for equity and parity in the workforce, and yet are left hamstrung with nowhere else to go but ask for relief and solution from this legislative body. It should also be noted that the Warden Service works hand in hand with VSP on a regular basis. We have the same type of jobs. Yes, I'm biased. I feel that we have some of the more advanced expertise and training compared to any law enforcement in the state, but that's me because I'm biased. And but I do believe there's truth behind that. Currently, we have, because of the governor's executive order recently, we, meaning the Warden Force, DMV, and other agencies, have recently taken up a number of job duties once handled by VSP. And for us, that was taking over any calls that are in the state parks, whether it be drug related, whether it be people getting in fights. If it happened in the state parks, they were no longer responding to it. We now are responsible for that. And we took over all the animal cruelty investigations. And we were asked to assist with any additional calls that may come in that VSP was short-staffed on, and they would just say, would you mind helping with this, et cetera. So obviously we've stepped up to the plate to make sure that that coverage is taken care of as needed. So going back to some brief history, and I'm just going to make this very concise because I have a very long history sheet, which I didn't know that you were privy to, but in a very brief, concise nutshell, currently Group C state law enforcement, state airport firefighters, and there's a few myriad of other people sprinkled in the Group C system, excluding VSP, are the only union contracted employees in the state that cannot achieve their step 15 level income within their retirement window. They're the only ones. Everyone else can, because you're either Group C, Group F, and there's the other dabbles, but everyone else can achieve their maximums as designed for the system to achieve their maximum retirement potential within their retirement window. An example of some of the disparity would be like a trooper, if they wanted to come from being a trooper to being in the warden service, they get yearly steps every year for 15 years. So if a trooper came over to be a warden and they've been on for 10 years, they'd be at step 10, where a warden would be roughly a step, would we figure that out to be 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there? Yes, 8. But so there'd be a huge pay disparity there. It's just showing the difference between where they are compared to where we are in the same system. Any questions? The body, please.
Senator White.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much for coming today. I had been the one who had suggested, could the legislature extend the retirement age? Because what we heard, particularly from the folks at the Human Resources Department, was that typically the legislature does not, dabble in the pay scale side of things, if that's not really our purview, and might even just open us up to, if we did that with everybody, that's a conversation that we probably don't want to start. So that was kind of my suggestion is
Yeah.
we have done the retirement age piece. Sounds like from your testimony, that doesn't really answer or solve the problem. Which is too bad, darn. So I just want to say that. And then the main question I had, and you touched a little bit on it in your testimony, but we were told pretty explicitly that to go much further down this conversation would be affecting bargaining and that process. Sounds like you're disagreeing with that sentiment. And I'm wondering if you could just spend a little bit more time explaining that piece, because while I completely understand and feel for your situation, and I do respect the work that you do, I originally was very in favor of moving forward with this bill. I have some trepidation with us getting into the mix there. So I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit more to that. And you said you had some examples. So.
The examples that I was going to give were in reference to the comparisons between the history and using a trooper as an example. But to go to your initial question, which was, how do I feel about the potential pitfalls? Could not agree more. So I want to make sure that I actually do agree, not don't agree. I do agree about the pitfalls. And John, as far as myself, we all know what the pitfalls are. So being here today is to address, to bring attention to the issue, try and find a solution, an amenable solution to this disparity that's been for 20 plus years at this point. Feeling like we've exhausted all avenues between bargaining, the labor board, etc., for a solution. I totally agree with the sentiment that this body cannot nor should intervene in the sense of, we're just going to give you the step plan.
Yeah.
That is not something that can be done, period. I'm accepting that, but I want to make sure it's very clear.
Well, that's HR.
Yes, but I'm just saying that's
We're
also,
retired.
but I'm just saying that I understand that from even a CELRA standpoint, a lot of just other legislative conflicts that I don't believe that can be done. And maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just putting that out there, that there's an understanding for me that may be a problem.
Okay.
I am not going to get too much into the weeds on some other solutions because the other testimony is going to address that.
Oh, okay.
But a possibility, and I'm just simply going to please leave it at this because it will be addressed again, I think, by Chris, is that a possible solution, which again won't be thrilled by HR, but is if we are able to become our own bargaining unit within VSEA, staying VSEA, becoming our own bargaining unit. That is and has been done through legislative process. And that means that the problem can now be returned to the bargaining process. But by having our own unit, we can bargain our issues that aren't conflicted and mixed in with 5,000, almost 6,000 other employees. And rightfully so, those employees have a bigger stake than just 100.
Sure.
So it constantly causes an issue of conflict. Yes.
So that has been, Kelly, that has been the sort of prohibiting factor to your negotiating and bargaining for, for example, from what we understand, the state police bargain two-step, a kind of a contraction of a two-step process. You bargaining with all these other thousands of people would be very hard to contract.
Virtually impossible.
Two-step, yeah. So until you're your own bargaining unit, you can't even get to that parity in the step system.
Correct.
Okay, so that's problem number one, is the contraction of the step system to sort of sync up with what the troopers have. Is that right?
Correct.
And then second, is then the proposal to move from C to F. Is that right?
No, we have no,
You want to stay in group C?
correct.
You just want a contraction of the
We
step.
were making a comparison because we used to be in group F.
Right, and
And
now
then-
you're on group C.
And
You're
then state law
created that.
enforcement moved into group C, but we were left in the group F pay plan.
Right, got it. So what you need to do is create your own bargaining unit to be able to bargain that contraction of the two steps.
Yes.
And other future issues that affect law enforcement only. And that's the big disparity being in the same pot as 6,000 other employees, is that very rarely do you have similar needs.
Okay, so may I just follow up?
Sure.
So other than the fact that this would, having yet another bargaining unit would put additional time and energy into bargaining, would HR have a problem with that? And
Which part?
the creating your own bargaining unit?
I believe they would, because it causes more time, potentially more
But they're
money.
here, that's what they might.
Yes, I just kind of have, I will say that I have heard
Oh, okay,
before the reasons behind why.
got it. But that really is your ask, is to be able to set up your own bargaining unit.
In the circumstances presented and the limited ability of this body to get involved, that would be a potential solution.
Yeah. Because that was going to be my question for you, is what's your suggestion
Yeah.
for us to wade through these thorny,
To alleviate any
Thorny
conflicts with
shrubbery.
current statutes, SELRA, et cetera, that could be a solution. And the overfragmentation or size argument, in my opinion, is a little moot and falls us a little deaf ears because it's already been done. You have the sheriffs, some of the sheriff's
Mhm.
deputies that I think there's 20 people. So that used to be the argument, but I think that now there's been precedents already set
Mm.
that it can be done
because you're 100, you're roughly 100.
roughly, yeah.
You're roughly 100 and you're embedded in a number of different agencies and departments, right?
Correct. All in the same retirement system.
All in the same retirement. Okay. That clarifies it a lot for me.
Well, that's good. Senator Hart,
I'm just gonna use a warden for an example here, Mark Scheisel.
He's retired, but yes.
I heard that he was forced out at 55. He
He was-
asked to come back and they wouldn't allow him back. So he didn't get his retirement.
I can speak only to my limited knowledge around your question.
Yeah.
That is, Mark came in much later in life, age-wise.
So he didn't have the time.
He didn't have the window of time, and at that time, it was still 55 forced retirement.
Yeah.
So, but since his retirement, it has moved to 57, so he could have had those extra years had he been in when that change was made. What I can't speak to is the HR aspect as why he couldn't come back to fulfill those extra 3 years. I don't know how that really works.
Okay.
With that,
Cause I got a message from them, so
yeah,
saying, I wasn't allowed to come back in.
yeah, and I couldn't speak to as to why, once he left and it was extended, why he couldn't come back at that time.
Senator Yovsky.
Thank you, Chair Collmore. You may not know the answer to this because I recognize you are not VSP, but was their mandatory retirement age also raised from 55 to 57 at the time yours was?
Correct. We're all in the same.
Okay.
They're all
Okay.
under group C, we're all the same.
Okay, that's helpful because we've been talking about it as if it was 55. So I just wanted to make sure that they were the same. So thank you.
Yes.
And again, I love analogies, so maybe this one works, maybe it doesn't. They're in the same situation in terms of the ability to retire or the age at which they have to retire. Their elevator goes a little faster, if you will.
Reverse does.
Yes,
This one.
I mean, I think in the end that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, you're on a freight elevator and they're on the guest
Well,
elevator.
maybe that's even a better.
And I guess just to elaborate the teeniest bit is again, as far as I think fairness, giving concessions, if you will, we came to the table at one point and said that we'd be fine with an 18-year. At least it allows us to finish in the 20-year period and be less expensive. We're not necessarily looking for the 15-year. Not saying we wouldn't take it if it was just like, here you go.
Right.
But we're willing to, if you would like, negotiate, we will.
Right, but you weren't even able to do that.
Yeah.
So So the VSEA, you serve for the board, I mean, you know, the VSEA bargaining options pretty completely. They can't do sort of sub units of bargaining. And bargain for
Sub-
specific things.
We are all in the NMU, meaning we as in the law enforcement group C people within VSCA are all under the NMU, non-management unit umbrella, which has the largest group of, like I said, it's like over 5,000, 6,000 people.
Right.
When we, and being part of the bargaining team, when we go in there, obviously, we're given from all the members things that asks that we want to ask the state. And some of those asks are just, you got part on the list to the most important issues that are going to affect the most amount of people.
Sure.
Being part of the team as long as I have and pushing this issue as long as I have, several times we've been able to get it almost to the finish line, but it's always either dropped or it's been just we're not going to, the state is just, we're not going to entertain this anymore. Either one. It's happened both ways. I think it was correct me if I'm wrong, and John can speak this later, but I think it was before John's time, maybe not. There was an offer on the table, but VSCA being under NMU, the offer was, and these are accurate figures, but the offer was in theory, well, we think about giving you the Group C if you gave up 1% COLA, which to the big group is like, you're out of your mind. We're not giving up 1% COLA for this. So it's gone both ways. I'm not going to lay all the blame on HR. I'm not going to lay all the blame on VSCA. But if we had our own unit, it keeps the issue, to one thing that affects law enforcement. So we can get the equality issue in Group C, because all the rest of the people are all of these other groups.
Yeah.
We're the only ones in the Group C that have this issue. So.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your testimony.
Very helpful.
Chris, are you ready to join us?
Thank you.
Kelly, how many game wardens do we have?
We are roughly at 40.
40. The more than one per pet. Okay.
It is, we don't go by county, but yes, it's just by town clusters. Roughly one warden covers on average 10, 12 towns, depending.
That's a lot.
So.
And what's your district?
My district is the very southeast corner. So like Vernon, Brattleboro, Marlboro, Halifax, Dummerston, Putney.
Oh, Demerson.
Yep, that whole little cluster there. I think of Senator White because.
Yes. Oh.
The other senator.
That's why when you said Senator White, I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, where's Jeanette?
So she retired.
Yeah, but she just testified in here a week ago.
Oh, we got her.
I
Okay.
look out, she gave me her.
So, welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you, honorable members of House, Senate co-ops. I have really brief in a couple pieces of paperwork to share with you all today.
Okay.
But I've heard a lot of discussion around this long overdue issue.
Could you just identify yourself?
My name is Christopher Hoare. I'm the president of the Vermont Police Association. I'm the 90,
Police person,
the Vermont Police Association, not
which
state.
is all the municipals.
It's all certified law enforcement officers throughout the state of Vermont.
Thank you.
So in the beauty of this is I'm not a state employee. I'm not I'm kind of just an unbiased mutual interested party. So but
Yeah, you represent all law enforcement, i.e. state police,
anybody
Municipal
certified, any
police.
certified law enforcement officer.
any certified law enforcement.
So I have listened to the hours of testimony and I think one thing that I've heard out of this committee is a lot of empathy and a strong interest in resolving this issue.
Yep.
I think that is clear and undeniable, which is great. I also feel for the employees and the SCA who've done it, from what I can tell, everything that they can ever since I've been involved in this for, on the outskirts, probably for close to 12 years. But they haven't had any luck in doing that. I also empathize with the state's position of circumventing good faith collective bargaining. And I have quite a bit of knowledge and experience as it relates to collective bargaining. That's what I do as a full-time job. So, but again, not in any capacity as it relates to this situation. the way I see this in a collective bargaining sense is this issue is at a standstill. One party wants it, one party is willing to give up almost anything to get it, but the other party just doesn't want it to give it, right? And then you have VSEA who get put in these leveraged situations where they have to do what's ultimately best for the majority, right? That the voting members, right? Now, one issue that's just been kind of discussed on the periphery of this topic is empowering these employees to bargain for their specific needs. When I heard HR's testimony, the two people that they brought up specifically were the Vermont Troopers, who have their own bargaining unit, and corrections, who have their bargaining unit. So those individuals, for example, corrections, HR said it, they have a new wage scale. They were able to bargain for that, right? Their individual interest. The Troopers Association, that reclassification that's been spoken about is not just the Warrens Association, or the Warrens rather, but it's also the Troopers Association. They're also a part of that reclassification. Again, they are their own unit and able to bargain for those things independently. So in just going into a little bit of history, and I have some paper prepared here. Back in 1969.
Oh, okay. This is.
Oh, I love it. This
We're
is,
going way back.
oh, it needs one per person.
They're down on there.
Back in 1969.
So for a second, it's you.
I was fine.
Wait, what year is it?
The Vermont State Employees Association testified that they plan to file petitions for smaller units than originally requested, and believe that they could effectively serve 35 to 38 different bargaining units. And this docket is what that testimony is. In August of 2011, I did not print this docket. It's much longer docket. In August of 2011, docket number 1150, VSEA attempted to create a smaller bargaining unit petitioning for these law enforcement officers. And the state challenged that petition, and the state was successful in stopping that petition from occurring. Fast forwarding to 2020, the legislature created a new bargaining unit through S220, which became the state deputy sheriff's bargaining unit. That was docket 2244 from the Vermont Labor Relations Board. At that time, that bargaining unit only consisted of 20 members. So if we're talking about small units, this unit is significantly larger than that unit. And again, that's the precedent that the legislature has had in the past. I have even drafted up potential possibility from that S220 bill. There's 3 copies. As it relates to this issue, if the legislature wanted to go in that direction. So I guess in culmination, my testimony was pretty much that, just to try to show the history, right? That it's been said that they can do it. It's been said that they've tried to do it, and the legislature does have and has had the ability to create those units in the recent past.
Any questions for Chris?
No, thanks.
Senator White?
No,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we should give this to Sophie Zadani at the very least, just so she can review it and understand it she's our legislative
There
counsel.
may be other sections that can be looked at as well.
And I was
have a meeting, I think you need to email it to us.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'm sure we'll want to hear from DHR.
She's right here.
Yeah, makes sense. But I meant just kind of the logistics of it.
Yeah.
As well. But then my question for you is, one of the points that we had raised by the HR folks was that there wasn't a vacancy rate to the same degree.
Mhm.
That the jobs that we're referring to don't have the level of, I don't know, they're not as hard to fill. I was wondering if you could comment on that, because I was surprised to learn that. So since you kind of have the full picture view, if you could speak a little bit to why either that is true and what the reasons are, and if it's not true, just a response.
I think, or I feel in that situation, I would agree with Warren Price that this issue isn't a recruitment and retention issue. I would say that this is a parity issue, right? We have certified men and women in law enforcement who do an incredibly difficult job, whether they're going into bars or they're going into the woods looking for people who have weapons on their own, right? They're doing stressful jobs, and they should be able to reach their maximum potential earning, which is what I would call it, within the credible years of service of the retirement system. So if I could try and make this a little bit clearer, right? We have the retirement system, which works. No one's saying change the retirement system, but we have two collective bargaining agreements, right? Two different documents, one that has an accelerated pay plan and one in which is a slower pay plan. And the ones in the slower pay plan do not reach that top potential earning within the course of their credible years of service. So I would again say that this is a parity issue, right?
Okay.
Sure. There are a lot more openings in the Vermont State Police, but the Vermont State Police is also a much larger agency, if you will,
Sure.
or department. And these other more specialized, smaller departments, they don't have as many vacancies. So.
Okay, thanks, Chris. John, are you in a position to?
John told me we're good, and he's gonna.
I'm happy to answer any
If
questions.
not, we can have you come back when we come
Yeah.
back.
I can certainly.
I think he's
Yeah, I think so.
Jerry would prefer center.
nodding over there.
Please join.
And agreeing, so.
What?
I think we
Nodding
have
is
full
not a
agreement, but-
Thank you. That's what I tell my husband all the time.
For the record, John Breyer, Director of Labor Relations, Department of Human Resources. I can either answer some questions or just that took an interesting turn. Let me also just from the state's perspective, I just want to be really clear that what we're really talking about here is when people start talking about maximizing their earnings under retirement, right? It's what we're talking about is the ability to retire as soon as possible, right? So let's not lose sight of that. What we're not talking about is getting to the top of the pay scale by the time that I'm required to retire by age, but it's about getting to the top of the pay scale by the time that I can go, right? Those are two different levels within Group C, right? And I think I'd have to look to make sure, but I think that someone in Group C can retire full retirement if they're 50 with 20 years of credible service, I believe, as opposed to 57. So it's about getting to the 20 at the earliest possible.
Sure.
Right, which I'm just pointing that out. I mean, we know what the issue is, but I'm just pointing out that when people talk about not being able to get to the top of the pay scale by the time that they have to retire, that's not completely accurate statement, right? You can get to the top of the pay scale by 57, depending on your timing. I just wanted to throw that out there. And I just also want to just clarify one piece that testimony was attributable to HR, which was actually my testimony about a disservice to VSP. my statement there was relative to the fact that VSP had actually bargained the steps and given up concessions to get them versus having it legislated. So I just want to just be really clear about that. And I think, as Kelly knows, this isn't about some disrespectful law enforcement or anything like that. Folks that do this work, and firefighters, who are also covered here. I just want to get that out there. It's about, from our perspective, the bargaining process. So with that said, I know Senator Clarkson had some questions that she wanted to ask, and I was nodding that I believe I could answer.
Yes, I would love to softball that right to you right now, which
Okay.
is, what would HR support the creation of, I don't know if we call them a sub-bargaining unit, but a bargaining unit within that, what do we call the 5,000, what's that? unit?
NMU, it would be,
And then-
wouldn't be an NMU, it would be
And then
still
the
under
non-management
BSCA.
union?
So I can't answer that question because that again was one that just came up. What I can speak to is what the labor board has identified in the past, and I think was referenced when we were talking about the unit clarification in 2011 was the board considered that to be over fragmentation of an existing bargaining unit and believed that the needs of those subset of individuals could still be met by leaving them in the bigger unit. So that was a labor board decision. And the state's position was it would create over fragmentation because from our perspective, we have successfully negotiated with, in this case, VSEA to address various subsets of employees within the greater units. So
you have a history of creating subsets.
no, we don't create subsets.
But they do.
Those are determined by the Vermont Labor Relations Board.
Right, we have two subsets in that group at the moment.
Sorry, there are
No.
nine bargaining units within VSCA currently.
Yeah.
Right, no, I appreciate that, but within law enforcement, are the corrections and the troopers that have their own bargaining units.
They're not subsets though.
They're
They're their own bargaining units, certified distinct bargaining units.
And so that's what they're asking for here is your certified separate own bargaining unit. Even though it's fragmented, we have bargaining units right now that are quite fragmented, i.e. I mean, they are all in the same department, but let's take our deputy state attorneys. They're fragmented in all 14 counties.
Yeah, fragmentation there
Are you
isn't
talking
related
by
to,
department? Or
No.
by-
no. In labor relations, over fragmentation just means that you're creating small groups within it's a question
larger group.
within a larger group. It's
Yeah.
not about the logistics or the location.
And I think where we were nodding is that that wouldn't add too much more time and energy to bargain with that group than it would be for any other of these.
We would bargain with whomever we are lawfully required to bargain with.
That's right. So maybe it was a block that not on your head, but you were sort of supporting the fact that yes, you could bargain with another unit.
We'll bargain with whoever we have to, is really what it comes down to.
To be fair, since we really just brought this up
Yeah,
today,
it's on the clock.
I don't expect that you'll.
I don't have an official position on whether or not we would be supportive of creating a separate bargaining unit for law enforcement.
So that,
For these law enforcement individuals.
Yeah, and I think we should take this up again when we get back, give John a chance over the next week to talk with others, and I think we might even have someone from Joint Fiscal coming in and talk about the pension.
I might suggest that you might want to invite the SCA as well.
yes.
Well, we have, at least when they were in the room, I gave them a chance, and again, this is tiptoeing through the tulips, so to speak. We're in a particular area that we don't have jurisdiction over, nor any expertise, at least in my case. This is labor relations and.
This is what we do usually, morning committee, because we just had Judith Dillon, which was great. So, but from first blush, bargaining with another unit is just something that,
It would just be,
It wouldn't-
right, I have a staff of 3, right, counting myself, and really two and a half to do bargaining for the branch. So, it would just be additional,
It would be
additional work that we would have to do. If we need to do it, we'll do it.
Okay, got it.
Did you have a comment or a question, Senator Bianchi?
I did, but it was answered.
Okay. So, yes,
I just wanted to clarify or expound on something that was given in testimony, if I may.
Sure.
The reference to achieving full earning potential and the fact that it was suggested that, well, you could work until you're 57, even if you could have left at 20 years. I just wanted to use an example of that. In my current age, when I came in, I could, and I still could do that. But here's the issue with that point, is that for every year I stay on past 20, I'm still paying 10% into the Group C system every single year without an additional benefit, with the exception of the 1.5%, which the 10% eclipses that I'm paying into it. So just for round figures, because I like round figures, if you're making 10 grand a year, you can do the math, 10%, $10,000 per year. So if you stay on an extra 7 years, that is $70,000 you put into Group C with no additional benefit. So why stay on until you're 57? There's no incentive. It actually costs you money to stay in longer.
So
point taken. Yeah,
I just given our workforce situation at the moment, what incentive could we provide that would make you stay? I mean, because yes, so you've achieved what you need to achieve with retirement and you've done your steps. What would, other than the fact that you're earning good money every year, so that's the major thing. What additional incentive would people need to stay in that job until 57?
The way that I designed purposefully the offer that I gave an example of, the 18-year retirement system versus the 15-year, not only saves money for the state, which I thought was feasible and reasonable,
Certainly,
but
50.
the way that you would max out, because you have to be in your max 2 years. So if let's just say you finished at 18 years, step 15, you have to stay on an extra 2 years to get the benefit of that. So depending how you do the numbers, it would cause you to stay on until 22 years to get the full benefit potential, depending how you did the step system, to keep you on longer. And then because of the incentive of the 1.5% you get additional, that's an incentive to stay on, because you reached your max potential. So you're making the full potential, then you're getting the 1.5% on top of that. But again, it depends on how old you come in, because a lot of these people we're hiring now, they're coming in at 22, 23 years old, which means that if they're done at 45 or whatever it is, they have to stay on for an extremely long period of time to reach the point where they can start getting 1.5%. I know it makes sense to me. I'm sorry. I'm not explaining.
I thought if they reached 20 years, they could leave at that point.
But the way the system Group C is set up is that you can't start getting the benefit of Group C until you reach age 50. So if you're done at 45, you have to find work or stay on
until. Got it.
So if you retire, you got to find another job before you're going to start collecting or getting your benefits or get your health care. All that stuff is on pause until you reach 50.
Senator Bukowski.
I'm wondering, John, and this is kind of maybe it's an HR question. How frequently, and I guess for this conversation, let's look at VSP, do officers actually reach that top tier? Because don't they have to be in the same job classification without ever getting a promotion to stay on that trajectory?
That would be, sorry, somebody can speak. Go ahead. The answer to that is yes. Every time you were to, let's just say, reclass, which is taking place right now, actually, you get red circled somewhere in the new pay scale, which reduces your steps. So you're starting at a lower step and then you move back up again. Or am I getting that wrong, John?
You are getting that wrong.
All right, I'm gonna let John explain that because that's the way it was explained to me. So I'm gonna let John explain that then.
So, I mean, the real answer, right, is it really depends on the specific set of facts, but generally speaking, if someone promotes, they're gonna get either 5 or 8% plus a slot up on the pay scale. So if your wage rate falls between steps after a promotion, you move up to the next, we place you on the next higher step. So it's a minimum of 5 or 8% movement to the next higher step if you're in between steps. And that occurs through any sort of promotion or reassignment to a higher pay grade. So for purposes of the RFR that's going through, to the extent that employees are moving to a higher pay scale, then if it's one step, they'll get 5% and movement to the higher step, depending on where their salary falls. I don't think anybody's going up three. If it's 3 pay grades, it's 8%. So there's always a percentage increase. Does that mean that you might land on a lower step in the next higher pay grade? It is certainly possible. Depends on the math.
Depends on the individual.
Yeah,
Okay.
the individual and the math
Okay.
that goes with that person's pay.
Okay, well, we're definitely gonna take this up again. And we'll probably have some fiscal note, I hope, from JFO, or at least some indication as to what we're looking at difference of numbers. And if the VSA wants to weigh in, I'm perfectly glad to have them come in as well. I appreciate your time and have a great week off.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, thank you.
Keep it.
They may not have.
Well, we have a week off, so you won't have
You
to.
did very good talk about it. It was good timing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
A month or so.
Kelly, I think you
Come and
came in and
observe.
testified when we were reorganizing the agency.
Oh, yeah, you've been on many committees
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I'm going to talk on, so.
No, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you again.
Yeah.
Hope to see you again. I'm done. This is my last ditch effort. I'm done, June 27th.
Well, thank you for your
June
service.
27th of this year? Oh,
Yeah,
congratulations.
so
Thank you for your
So
service.
I'm hoping this is my last ditch.
Let's hope, let's hope.
Let's hope.
And you know, well, maybe later you'll fill us in on what's next.
That's on hold. As you know, there's always plenty of opportunities to switch.
Which
The
where do you
world- The
go?
world is your oyster.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you all.
Maybe
Bye.
the new commissioner.
You never know.
That's right.
Okay, Michael, join us again, if you would.
Thank you all for your indulgence while I let editing take a quick look at this. And I don't have it digitally, I just ran over as fast as I could.
You're wonderful.
So, and we'll get it to you digitally after
We
it.
have one for Joanne too, or?
Yeah, no, she has one. And I have plenty, and you can have one,
Thank you, Michael.
you can have one. And I also have. That's you,
Same there.
and I'll take the other one back afterwards, the one that I gave to you.
I gave it back.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
Well, I have a copy and it doesn't matter, it's okay. Okay, good afternoon. My name again is Michael Chernick, Legislative Counsel for the record. I met with everyone earlier and you gave me instructions, and this is a revised 2.1 document with today's date. Oh, it still says 222. We'll correct that before it goes in. With today's date on it, should be 228. That's a minor thing. The committee sponsorship is now Committee on Government Operations. And the only substantive change, the only textual change at all, you're going to find on page 3. And it now reads that the Senate of the State of Vermont, we made it to the Senate of the State of Vermont, but the Senate of the State of Vermont commits to bring forth draft legislation to maximize rather, the delivery of public safety services to all Vermonters and it be a further. Otherwise, it's reads verbatim what you saw before. Okay, that's it. And I'll change, I'm trying to change the date on that in the header before I get into this.
Does anyone have questions for Attorney Turner?
Sorry, which day are you changing? Just it's gonna be February 28th.
February 20th, again, the header.
So we've taken care of the committee versus individual senator sponsorship. Is the committee ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Aye.
We can have a necessary paperwork. And again, this is a resolution, Senator, not a bill.
Yep.
I've looked at.
I am.
Okay. Senator Clarkson,
Yes.
Senator Hart, no. Senator Vyhevsky,
Ovsky.
Vyhevsky. Oh. It's muted.
It might help if you kill the video, Tanya. It seems,
You're muted, I think. Try speaking. You haven't spoken.
I'm not sure she can hear you.
Can you hear us?
Sorry, my headphones just died. I am a yes.
okay,
I'm not muted.
Oh,
Can you
okay.
hear me now?
It's just your, yeah, we can hear you. And we can see,
I'm a yes.
right?
Yes.
We figure. But needed to hear.
Senator White,
Yes.
Senator Colomer.
no.
Okay. Apparently it is.
So let it be known the resolution passed 3-2. And, Tanya, I welcome, this will go on notice and, you'll be speaking for the committee when we get the bill to the floor or the resolution to the floor. Is that okay?
Yes.
Great. Well, I hope you have a good week off, Senator. I hope it's warm where you are and, that you have safe travels.
Yes, you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy. Bring back some port.
Okay.
Where is she?
Does anyone else have anything for the committee? Okay, well, we didn't make the 2:30, but
I'm just trying to remember in that it's a committee resolution. I think you need to sign it and then we need to send it through Ledge Council.
okay,
So if you sign that copy and then with the vote, and then I'll take it back and we'll get it processed through.
okay. Will do. Okay, there being no further business, I wish you all a wonderful week off. I hope you get charged up again and we'll see everybody.